Let's make something with the 121 ScrawlrBox.
Hey Scrawlers, I'm Kat from ScrawlrBox and welcome back to another video. Today we've got the 121 ScrawlrBox and I'm going to be getting into some of those tips and tricks as soon as it's been. Let's get into it.
So here we have the 121 ScrawlrBox, and each month we have a zine jam-packed full of tips and tricks from the artists themselves, as well as some tips and tricks from us on how to use the supplies, just in case they're new to you. A quick reminder of what was inside this box. This ScrawlrBox invited you to wander into your happy place, where or whatever that might be, to use these supplies and map out your own personal sanctuary. I've got the swatches from our previous video handy to use as a reference. Right then, let's get into it, and I'll be using one of the sheets of this beautiful Arches paper. I've gone for the smoothest one, just because that's my personal preference. Got my 2 mixing pots of water here, as well as some tissue handy, because we're going to need to keep our brushes clean. Oh, and a palette, and I've got one of these disposable ones, so I'm going to use that today. Already planned out my painting, and I'm fitting in with the spooky season vibes this time, as if by magic has appeared on my paper. Right, let's prep these paints. Give them a nice squeeze to get that pigment and binder all mixed together nicely. You can use a toothpick inside the actual tube itself, I just didn't have one handy. Before we get painting, I'm just going to erase down all the harsh lines. Our featured artist Matty said to prep all paints before we start, and we're going to mix in enough water to create a puddle on the palette. I've dotted in extra bits as I went to give it a bit more of a mottled effect. Let that dry, and then with clean water I'm just going over the edges. This creates a nice soft edge. Added a touch of red to make a dark violet. My paint looked like a bat, so I had to show you because I felt it was appropriate. And I'm going to add in that darker colour to the doorway. Load up your paintbrush with plenty of paint. You want a nice wet paintbrush as it needs to glide across the page. That way you'll always get a smooth application. Layering over again with a more intense colour of that dark violet. I've used more paint to water ratio to make it a bit thicker, making sure the layer underneath is perfectly dry before going on top to avoid any unwanted bleeding. So the less water you add, the more opaque your finish. I'll show you that here with the moon in the corner. Watercolours do tend to be quite transparent, but you can get a really nice thick effect if you just add less water. Mixing up a nice autumnal orange now for my pumpkin. And we're going to work with a lighter layer again, working over with darker layers. We're going to try a bit of charging on this one. Charging is a technique where you use your wet to dry, but then you add in wet to make purposeful blooms of pigment. I'm going to add in the same colour here, but you could add in a darker colour if you wanted to. This results in a nice transition of colour. You can't really control how it blooms out, but it looks really nice in the end. And that's what the beauty of watercolours is, the slight unpredictability. And we're going to use it subtly here, so I'm not going in full ham. And here's how it's looking so far. All my layers starting to build up. There's no black included in this box unless you include the liner, but we can make a really nice dark grey by mixing in all 3 of the colours. Depending on how much of which primer you add is the way it's going to lean towards, so I've gone for more blue in this one to make it a more colder grey to match with the blue in the background. Again, we're going to build up those layers and then add in an extra bit of wet paint to charge in that grey colour for the shadows. And of course you can dab off mistakes while it's still wet. I'm going to let that completely dry, and then I'm going to go in with a layer of a more grey, filling in the little cracks and adding in little stony details. And my little skull, of course. The same for the pumpkin, using the same orange again, going over to make a darker layer. Now that that's all completely dry, we can go over the top with the marker. This marker will react with water if you go over a wet area, which means your lines won't be as crisp. I'm going in adding more mark making over the shadows just to enhance them, and adding in little speckles as I feel like it. Now I'm happy with all those details, and that marker is completely dry. I can go over again with more paint. Now that fineliner is completely dry, I can go back over the top with paint and not worry about it smudging. adding in more depth to the shadows and more speckly bits, just for a bit more detail. And I'm a big fan of mark making, so I like to add a bit of texture, and putting in little marks and dots helps build that. I went for red for a bit of a blood moon. A little painting for spooky season.
And there we have it, tips and tricks with the 121 ScrawlrBox done. Hopefully this helps you get to grips with your supplies a bit better.
And my camera decided to die, so we'll never know what I said, but what I'm pretty sure I said was I hope you found this video useful. And until next time, keep scrolling! Give this video a little thumbs up if you did like it. If you made it this far, leave a Halloween emoji.